This episode brings us to the turning point of our story. Mzilikazi's kingdom, built through strategy and power, stood strong in the Transvaal, but a clash with a new and relentless enemy would shatter that dominance. Forced from their lands, the Ndebele embarked on an epic journey north, a journey that would redefine southern Africa. What drove this exodus, and how did it shape the destiny of a kingdom? Let's find out. Season 2, Episode 7, the season finale, the battle for a nation's destiny, the Ndebele exodus to a new home. By 1836, Mzilikazi's powerful Matabele kingdom stood at a crossroads. His territory stretched across the Transvaal, his regiments had subdued rival African groups, and he maintained diplomatic ties with missionaries such as Robert Moffat, whom he had welcomed again in June 1835 during a visit that deepened mutual trust. Yet that same year, a much more dangerous presence entered the Transvaal, the Voortrekkers, Dutch-speaking settlers embarking on the Great Trek, driven by tensions with British rule and a desire for autonomy. By 1836, these settlers were moving into the high-veld interior, clashing with African polities along the way, including the Matabele. Mzilikazi initially responded with force. His warriors repelled early Boer incursions, and some parties were completely destroyed. Amidst these relentless Ndebele Boer battles is the surprising story of white children living among the Ndebele. In August 1836, during a violent period of upheaval, Mzilikazi's forces clashed with a group of Boers led by Barend Liebenberg in what is now the Free State. The historical reality of this battle is well established, but its aftermath is recounted in conflicting accounts. According to some historians, 3 of Barend Liebenberg's children were found hidden during the clashes and taken by the Ndebele warriors. Despite Mzilikazi's reported distress over the capture of children and his order for their return, it was not possible at the time, and the children were integrated into Ndebele society. Some accounts even suggest that one of the Liebenberg boys became a notable Ndebele warrior, while his sister Sarah became a close assistant to Lobengula, the future king of the Ndebele. However, other historical sources offer a different perspective, suggesting the surviving Liebenberg children were not captured at all. Regardless of which version is entirely accurate, the Liebenberg story remains a compelling and nuanced historical anecdote. There is also another fascinating oral tradition that is tied to this particular period of Mzilikazi's reign. According to some Ndebele oral traditions, a powerful and unsettling prophecy was revealed to the king. In this vision, 2 bulls locked horns in a fierce fight, one black, one white. The black bull, representing his own kingdom, fought with all its might, but the white bull ultimately prevailed. King Mzilikazi understood the omen's meaning instantly. The white bull was a symbol for a powerful, new force looming on the horizon. The prophecy foretold that their time in the Marico Valley, where the Ndebele had settled comfortably, would not be permanent. A coming storm was on its way, one that would force the Black Bull and his people to move once again. Amidst the Ndebele's fierce battles were brave generals such as Dambisa Mahubo Mafu, Mhaba Mkwananzi. There was Mkatika Tebe. Then there was Ngwabalanda Mate, Mkumbata Kakolo, and Kondwane Ndiweni. Also, among these brave warriors was Mbigo Madlenya of the Masugu clan, a man who would later find himself at the center of a bitter succession dispute. He was married to Mzilikazi's daughter Zinkabe, and was therefore brother-in-law to Prince Nkulumane. Around this time, Mzilikazi also clashed with Ndebele Kasumphisi, an experienced Zulu general in the service of King Dingane. Dingane had risen as the new king of the Zulu after the assassination of King Shaka in 1828. While the charismatic and formidable King Shaka had not gone after Mzilikazi and his followers, who had fled Zululand in the early 1820s, Dingane, after all these years, saw things differently. He relentlessly went after Mzilikazi on 3 separate occasions. The final assault in 1837, under General Ndebele's command, proved to be the most devastating, leaving the Ndebele battle weary and resource depleted. This would turn out to be the perfect storm, as other groups were encroaching into Mzilikazi's domains, including the Griqua, Korana, and Voortrekkers. In January 1837, the tension exploded into open war. Andries Hendrik Potgieter, a determined Boer leader, orchestrated a devastating dawn raid on Mosega, one of the main Ndebele military centers. The Ndebele warriors, armed with spears and shields, were caught entirely off guard by the firearm-equipped Boer commandos on horseback. This coordinated force, which included Griqua, other Boers, and some local clans, moved with a speed and ferocity the Ndebele had not yet experienced on this scale. They were swiftly overwhelmed. The attack was no isolated event. It was a prelude to a series of campaigns that would systematically dismantle Mzilikazi's kingdom. Throughout the rest of 1837, the Boer commandos continued their advance, pushing the Ndebele from one stronghold to the next. The Ndebele warriors, though brave, were unable to counter the hit-and-run tactics of their mounted rifle-wielding enemies. The climax came with the final attacks on Egebeni and other key strongholds in the Mariko Valley, which completely shattered the Ndebele's military power in the region. Faced with the possibility of utter destruction and realizing he could no longer effectively defend his strongholds against the firepower of the Boers, Mzilikazi made the monumental decision to retreat. In a massive, harrowing exodus that began in early 1838, approximately 15,000 Ndebele people gathered their belongings and moved north. This was an extremely difficult departure from a land they had come to dominate. They were compelled to cross the Limpopo River, leaving behind the Transvaal forever. Mzilikazi's difficult decision was a move to ensure the survival of his people against an enemy whose tactics and technology had proven insurmountable. In the chaos of battle and migration, the Matabele nation split into 2 main groups. The first group, comprising many civilians and structured military units, was led by Mzilikazi's maternal uncle, Kondwane Ndiweni. He took a northeastern route, carrying women, children, livestock, and regiments organized with precision. 2 regiments went with Kondwane. The first regiment was the Amnyama Regiment, commanded by Majijili Gwebu, assisted by the younger Mkalipi Dlekezela Kumalo. Notable warriors included Dambisamahubo Mafu and Yengo Mlugulu Kumalo. His second regiment was the Amakanda Regiment. It included Mzilikazi's trusted advisor, Mkitikatebe. The Amakanda were led by Dludluluza and Mfangalele Machazi, and included, among others, warriors from the Zikali and Makuchwa clans. Following Mzilikazi's instruction, Kondwane's group migrated northeast, guided by Moffat's advice to travel with the sun on your right cheek in the morning and on your left in the afternoon. Leaving their ancestral lands, the determined Ndebele began a harrowing journey, a migration of epic scale. For months, they pressed deeper into the unknown, crossing the mighty Limpopo River and pushing north into an unknown landscape. Driven by a will to survive and find a new home, they finally arrived at the majestic Matopo Hills. While a large portion of the Ndebele had already departed, King Mzilikazi himself led the second group's exodus from the Transvaal. Mzilikazi took the northwestern route, leading a leaner force composed primarily of elite warriors and his close advisors. His command included the Amlope Regiment, led by Gwabalanda Mate, and the Igaba Regiment, led by Makakeni Sitole. This group crossed into modern-day Botswana, traversed Nawoto territory, and then veered north toward the Zambezi. He encountered King Sibitwane and the Kololo near the Chobe River. The Kololo's resistance, coupled with the tsetse fly-prone conditions of the region, forced Mzilikazi to withdraw from his northward movement. Had he continued further and crossed the Zambezi, some historians argue, Mzilikazi may have ended up settling further north in modern-day Zambia. Instead, he turned southeast and re-entered present-day Zimbabwe. Kondwane's group had already begun forming new settlements. Rumors swirled that Mzilikazi had died during his prolonged absence. So strong was this belief that some factions even began to prepare for the coronation of his heir, Nkulumane. But the king lived. Kondwane's party met Mzilikazi's group and escorted him to the dramatic granite massif of Ntabazinduna, where a new capital would rise. The Matabele kingdom was reborn, scarred but unbroken, in Matabeleland. This phase closes one of the most dramatic episodes in Southern African history, the fall of the Matabele kingdom in the Transvaal, the epic migration into present-day Zimbabwe, and the foundation of a new state, divided by exile, and ultimately united by resilience. For nearly 2 decades, Mzilikazi had done more than just survive after his departure from Zululand. He had forged a thriving and formidable Ndebele kingdom in the heart of South Africa's High Veld. Forced to abandon his prosperous and familiar homeland, Mzilikazi led his people on a great journey into a new land where they would start anew. Yet, in a testament to his indomitable will, he would not only succeed in establishing a new kingdom, but would grow it to become even more powerful than before.